morning, good afternoon, hello everybody. This is to a radio. It's a global internet radio station, radio and television station. Today we are here again, and this is Inside Liberia. Today, Inside Liberia, we want to look at information about George. We are getting ready to work from the executive mansion, meaning Liberia's executive mansion. What is significant is accountability issues. And by that, we want to strictly look into the renovation process of the executive mansion since 2006, when the full flow of the executive mansion got fired. What has happened since then? Right now, we have hearing from Liberia that the president of Liberia, George Weah, is getting ready to begin his official work from the executive mansion. And since 2006, if he does that, then that would be that's the information we want to look at this morning. But we want to look at good governance in the process of the president moving to the executive mansion to start his work. In as much as it is good to hear that the president is to start working from the executive mansion, but we want to look at what has happened before then and now. There's a very sticky issue that has to do with the renovation of the executive mansion. And just for some laws, some read executive mansion got it fired in 2006 when Madame Salih was then president. And since then, Madame Salih left the mansion, and the executive mansion has been under renovation. And several budgetary period, there has been a lot of money put into the renovation process. From Madame Salih time to George Weah time, there's been a lot of money put in there. And there has been two companies involved. They have a Chinese company known as CNQC. CNQC was the first Chinese company that had no experience of renovating such a building, but the contract was given to them, and they started the renovation. The second company we had is called CESAF Liberia Limited. That's the second company that is working at the executive mansion or working on the renovation of the executive mansion. We don't have the detail, and the reason why we don't have the detail because information has not been given to the appropriate agency or branch of government. And since George Weah is now about to move to the executive mansion while renovation is still ongoing, we want to look at accountability issue. Why am I raising this issue? Is George Weah moving to the executive mansion news? In my view, no, it's not a news. That's the official seat of the government, the executive mansion. So if the executive mansion renovation is ongoing and a portion of the mansion is ready for the president to start working from there, it's better that the president works from the executive mansion. We'd appreciate that. But what is important that I think the media has been missing, for which I want to discuss this thing this morning, has to do with the accountability. During Madam Salih's time, 50 million United States dollars has gone into that building, into the renovation process of that building. Whether Madam Salih did give account of the $50 million, that's an issue. And I think the General Auditing Commission should be able to audit the Madam Salih administration in the renovation process of the executive mansion to determine whether $50 million was sufficient or not. And the second leg of money that went into that building was $8.9 million under Weah's government. Now, if you combine the $50 million and $8.9 million United States dollars, you have $58.9 million United States dollars going into the renovation process, and yet the renovation process is not completed. And what I'm saying is just my own little research. It's not a confirmed information as to what is being budgeted all of these years. But the reason why I'm raising this issue this morning is for us, the media. I like the United States government has urged the media institution to continue to checkmate the Weah's government. And to do that is to discuss these matters very cogently and be able to lay some of these concerns out so that those who are governing will take note and get to realize that there are sensitive Liberians who are also looking at issues in the performance process or in the governance process. Now, the Legislative Special Committee of the House of Representatives, the most appropriate branch of government that's supposed to checkmate the executive branch of government, has written the finance minister Samuel Tour to provide all source documents relating to the $8.9 million that's being put into that building, into that renovation process. Samuel Tour has deliberately refused to provide any accountable document, any financial source document to the specialized committee of the House of Representatives. Several communication was written to the finance minister, Samuel Tour, requesting him to submit all financial records as to the $8.9 million that are being put into the renovation process of the executive mansion. And Samuel Tour, some of the communication is like appealing to Samuel Tour to appear before the specialized committee. And the finance minister has since refused to appear and to send even a source document as to how the $8.9 million was used for the renovation process. So it's not just about George Weah moving into the executive mansion while renovation is still ongoing, because the Liberian people money is still going to go into the renovation process while George Weah is working there. George Weah is not working at the executive mansion, but $8.9 million cannot be accounted for by his finance minister to his knowledge, and yet he's going to sit in the executive mansion and they're going to be submitting budgetary allocation for the renovation process, besides the president budgetary allotment for his annual activities. So the news is not George, we are going to start working for the executive mansion. The news is George, the CDC-led government has not accounted for $8.9 million. They should account. That's the people's money. If the legislature apportion money for the renovation of the building, you are accountable to the people. And by that, when their representative call you to account, it's not about being boisterous. It's about you as Minister of Finance making available those records. What's stopping you? Samuel Tour is not a lion over the Liberian government. If he's asked to submit financial sources or financial records as to the renovation of the executive mansion, he should. If he doesn't, the president should make him to provide those documents. Except if the president has reason to believe that there is a reasonable expectation that the $8.9 million were not fully used or applied on the renovation process. That's the only reason why they were not gave the source documents to the legislature. You are running a government that should be accountable to the people. So if for any reason you spend $8.9 million, why $50 million already going into the same renovation process, into the same building? $50 million went into the executive mansion renovation. Now the Weah's government, on the record from the legislature, the legislature says you spent $8.9 million for the same building that $50 million was put into. So they say, come and give an account as to how you spent $8.9 million on the renovation process. You were written more than 3 different times. And since then, the finance minister has not gone to make any appearance. To the point where the members of the legislature are appealing to him to go and provide those records. Do they need to appeal to Samuel Tour? You are the people's finance minister appointed by George Weah. So if you spend $8.9 million on the renovation process, it is incumbent upon you as finance minister to give account of the $8.9 million. They want to know whether the $8.9 million were all applied. on the renovation process. Now, if you did, I see no reason why you cannot provide those information. You will only be if you don't apply if you don't provide the source document, reasonable man's mind would be like, hey, you did not apply the $8.9 million on the renovation of the executive mansion. Would it be wrong if they say that? To prove them wrong is to provide a source document, to provide all financial records as to $8.9 million being spent. It is very likely that way you did not mismanage your money. But until then, we would think that something fishy, something is going on wrong. That's the only reason why you don't want to provide the financial records. So this morning, I just want to highlight that because it is important. $8.9 million, even if somebody take $1 million and put it in their personal account, it should be accounted for, right? So if you don't want people to believe that you siphon some of the money, all you need to do provide the financial records to the legislature. Let it go through it. I'll say, okay, yeah, that's good. But guess what? I do not think Simon Twe is calculating all of these things to the liking of the legislature herself. Because guess what? You just passed 800 what 85. You just passed the 2022 budget, right? That budget should have been withheld until you provide all financial records for their information and for the Liberian people information. But they passed the budget hastily without calling you to even give explanation to the draft budget. They themselves passed the budget. So it's like you deliberately refusing to appear before them because you know them. This is where the Akaras grade who are all being advocating for good governance, they're where they are supposed to speak. He's part of the party. He knows what is going on. He's in the first branch of government, should be checkmating the executive branch of government. So at this point in the governance process, this is just one issue. $8.9 million was applied on the executive mansion when $50 million was already in there. So the George Bowler committee, and first it was the Kufas committee, all of these people are all in the leadership of the legislature. They are not happy with the finance minister because he defied them. That is the first branch of government. And probably they got no, I don't want to use it, they get no power to send for a finance minister who should be giving account to them. If I ask Ado, did the finance minister submit his annual report? Because if he did submit his annual report for the year 2021, you should not be asking because all of your records should be in there. But if the finance minister and all agencies of government are not even following the governance process to give you information for the people's information, who do you blame? So on the surface, Liberians should rejoice. Oh, Joe Weah is going to work in the executive mansion. Oh yeah, he's going to work in the executive mansion. Good enough. So to some appreciable level, the executive mansion has been renovated. Good for Liberians. Their executive mansion is being renovated. How much did you spend? Or they should not ask, right? They should just rejoice, carry cultural troop there, and have fun fair. Yeah, the executive mansion is being renovated. Joe Weah has moved in there. It's good. It must be that way. No, but rational people are sitting somewhere too now and they're thinking, okay, yeah, 58.9 million has been used in the same renovation process, right? Is it possible to know what is going on? Can a General Auditing Commission commission an audit of the renovation process? Probably they themselves too will be the friend now. Oh, the line is sitting in the executive mansion, so who will go there to go ask, okay, how much cement was bought, how much plywood or whatever can the General Auditing Commission get in there to ask those questions? Maybe not, because everybody may be just afraid. Because when Samuel 12 speaks, they will be dismissed. So because of that, they all afraid, right? But the financial records must be available. That's the people's record. the people's money. If you say you spent $8.9 million, nobody is saying something to you took in the money, but all you are doing is you are defying the governance process, which is wrong. Good governance requires you to give account to the national legislature, right? So there's nothing wrong with following this simple rules, this simple governance note. And there are some uh, legislators we have. They are trained. They are good governance uh, advocates. They are all in the legislature. So people want to wait after the weird government has ended. Then you're not going to account. They're not going to. The people are going to pass around like millionaires around here after the weird government has ended. So at this point in time, all that is necessary is there is reasonable expectation. The fact that you have now provided financial records, there's a reasonable expectation that hey, the $8.9 million were not all applied to the renovation process of the executive mansion. To disprove that is just to provide the legislature the records. They are asking for the records. It's not me asking, although myself want to read the records, but just provide it to the national legislature. That's what it's called accountability. You budgeted money for the renovation process. The money was budgeted. If you expended the money, they need to know the vouchers. They need to see the checks. Who are those that received the money? Just give them the record. They will make analysis. They will maybe say, "Okay, thank you, Mr. Finance Minister. You did well." Well, I don't know what is going on with my computer this morning, but I mean, um, well, oh, nobody hacking my computer this morning. Yes, sorry for the breaking transmission. And this is Two-Way Radio. We are here this morning, and we are discussing accountability issues in George. We are working from the executive mansion. There's general information that the president of Liberia, George Weah, is to begin his official duty at the seat of the government. That is the executive mansion. The executive mansion got fired in 2006 under the former president, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And during her time, there was almost $50 million was being put in the renovation process. And since then, that building has not been renovated or not been fully completed, the renovation process. And when the US government came in, they have put in $8.9 million. And the $8.9 million is where they have been asked to account. And the institution asking for accountability is the House of Representatives, the House Specialized Committee. The committee was set up to ask the Minister of Finance to give account of the expenditure of the renovation process. I mean, the $8.9 million and the $50 million. So the $50 million, we will say, okay, that was not under the WEA's government. And so probably, but again, they say government comes, government goes. So then they should be able to give account of everything. They can say, okay, when we took over the $50 million, this one was applied, this one was not applied, and they could give some explanation. In fact, they should have audited the Madam Sirleaf government. If they did not do that and they started working, they are also accountable for any malfeasant activities. So right now, what is important is the House of Representatives, the specialized committee of the House of Representatives, has written the finance minister more than 3 times for him to submit the financial records of the $8.9 million they apply in the renovation process of the executive mansion. So Samuel Twe has not, the finance minister, current finance minister, has not submitted any record, neither has he gone to the call of the House of Representatives. So that is the issue. So the question we're asking this morning is what make news? Is it the president working for an executive mansion or the accounting for the $8.9 million? And we believe very strongly that accounting for the $8.9 million is a more new than George Weah working for an executive mansion. So it's incumbent on George Weah to ask his finance minister to send the records to the people who should be the custodian of the records. Send it to them. And I'm adding my information that look, instead of even they asking you, the statute, okay, require all ministries and agencies, all line ministries and agencies to submit an annual report every year. It's been 3 years now. So I mean there should be 3 different reports from the Ministry of Finance explaining their yearly activities. And those reports should be with the House of Representatives or the National Legislature. If those reports were with them, they needed to even actually they will go through those records because the 8.9 million is a huge component. It should be accounted for in any report that may have gone before them. So we're just adding our voice to the legislative core. That hey, Mr. Minister, submit the financial records of the $8.9 million to the House of Representatives or to the National Legislature. If you do that, that's all you need to do. And I think you have able lieutenants who can make that report available. So just make the report available. That is of more news than Joe Weah going to work to the executive mansion. There's no news. Joe Weah is president of Liberia. We know he's going to work for the executive mansion. So there's no news. And I think the media herself should be asking all of the relevant questions. Is the renovation completed? What portion of the executive mansion has been completed? Take the media there. Let the public works minister take some media practitioners there. Before George Weah moving in there, give the people the view of the executive mansion. Which part of the mansion has been renovated? Which part of the mansion is yet under renovation? How much has been spent? How much is needed? So Liberia can be aware. The Constitution demands that any government that leads the people should account to the people. And the way you account to the people is through the people representatives. So what I'm saying this morning, I'm just adding my voice to the representative who have asked the finance minister to submit his financial records. That is called good governance. The House of Representatives should checkmate you. You know, even if you are submitting any flying paper to them, they probably would have said, okay, yeah, the finance minister submitted the financial record. Yeah, that's true. They spent $8.9 million. That would have been better than saying you're not going to submit record or refusing to appear before them. You know, sometimes when these things go on, it's not going unnoticed. There are people who may be in Liberia, outside Liberia, that partners around Liberia who are more carefully following the governance process. So if a minister refuses the call of the legislative branch of government, that's a red flag to governance. I know sometimes people don't care when this international report coming out. But the image of the country matters. If a finance minister can defy the national legislature, they have written you, the chief clerk record is there. So tomorrow after the Weah government may have left the seat, may have left or their term expired, then you have people going through these records. Okay, yeah, there was $8.9 million that the Weah government said is spent. Okay, the national legislature wanted to know whether they actually spent this money. The finance minister did not honor this record. The records will be there. Anyone writing an audit report tomorrow, Samuel Twe will be in there that he failed to submit financial records. And that by then, they will ask the Weah government to account for the $8.9 million. Then people will say, oh, they put witch hunting George Weah. Or the witch hunting Samuel Twe. So when Samuel Twe at this time is supposed to be submitting those records, he's not doing it. But the record is there. The chief clerk office has written more than three different communications to Samuel Twe to come and get account of the $8.9 million. Or we should leave all of that now and start sinking and carry culture through to the executive mansion because George Weah is going to the executive mansion to start working from there. Right? So it is just important. Just as you need money, the country needs to be developed. And the way you go about it is to this way. When the people appropriate money, they want to know how much money was spent out of the appropriation. If you spend all, just go give reason. Like, hey, we give 8.9 million for renovation, the 8.9 million were put in there. These are the vouchers. These are the checks that were issued. They'll go through all the records. They just come up clear and say, okay, yeah, this guy, oh yeah, the government did well. Okay. So this is where we are this morning, and it just uh, a way of adding our voice to our voices to what the lawmakers themselves have been doing. They've been calling on this fine gentleman to submit his records, the financial records of the renovation process, but he has not. And so we think it's important to uh, raise this red flag this morning that George Weah moving to the executive mansion is not of news. Not at all. It's not of news. What will make news is if Summit Tour were to carry those records that have been requested of him months back. You know, governance is unique when this is where it becomes very interesting if the legislative branch of government is checkmating the executive branch of government. That is no friction. That is no hatred. Even as I speak, Samuel Tour is not. It's not Samuel Tour myself. We attended Tottenham House, so there's nothing to say. Oh, and we hate him, but hey, he needs to follow the governance process. That's what I'm adding my voice on this morning, and he knows that that's the right thing to do. He can't dodge it, but it has taken months, more than three different communications, and you have not answered to one of them. That defiance. Tua knows that very well. That's defiance. But maybe because I know I listened to some of his previous comment. You know, dictators behave that way. So if you don't want to answer to the legislative branch of government, if you're not answerable to them, that's not democracy. Democracy requires agencies of government to give account to the legislative branch, especially when you are an agent of the executive branch. And what is more interesting is why George Weah himself is not asking Samuel Tuer to submit the report. Meaning, by reasonable man's mind, it's like, okay, they all know what they're doing. So if his appointees is not giving account, and he's not asking his appointee to give account to the branch of government responsible, meaning they all know what is going on. So this is where we are this morning, and that's the only single reason why I decided to add my voice on this morning. Once again, this is 2A Radio. We are here and we're looking at the issue of accountability, the accountability issues, and George Weah working from the executive mansion. There were two companies involved in the renovation process. They got one is called CNQC, and the other one is CESAF Liberian Limited. So if they just send in a report, they will know what all the people, whether it's a Liberian company, whether somebody is having shares, whether some official of the government have shares in any of this company. The people will discover all those things. Just send in the records. They will review it. If this is a clean record, just give them the record. They definitely will know what is going on. So we just thought to give our voice to this morning. It's important that Liberia, a country described as one of the poorest countries on the face of the earth, when people hear about $8.9 million, $50 million, that's a lot expected. You know, when money is being managed and accounted for, the people call it good governance. We agree with those who said the democratic space. I agree with you. After the government, the poor already rich. If somebody, even out of 8.9 million, somebody take 1 million out of there and can't give account of it, somebody who could not probably get maybe $1,000. Yeah, people are millionaires. But to get rid of all of this suspicion, all of this speculation, we really asking gave the record to the appropriate agency of government or institution. Give the record to the legislative branch of government. Even if they sit on it, you would have been clear, oh, I did submit a record to them, they have it. Even if you submit it in lobby with them in whatever form, just give it to them. Clear your side of the record. And that's the singular reason why we try to add our voice on this topic this morning. We have read it in the papers. We heard that George Weah is to soon start working for an executive mansion. But the level of work that has gone on in the executive mansion, no one is aware of that. Why don't you take the media there? Just send out news today. The information minister, you want to be in the news, hey, just tell the people, tell your chief, say, okay, chief, before you go to the executive mansion, we will carry the media there to go around, except for security reason. That's why you control them. I mean, the media will still go in there anyway. But before the president goes in there, carry the media there, let us see the renovation work, the level of work. Maybe, I mean, you may just be praised at the end of the day. But if Liberians are not aware of renovation, $58.9 million, probably more than that. I'm talking about what I know about. All right. But every budgetary year, money has been placed in the national budget for the renovation of the executive mansion. So what is wrong with accounting for $8.9 million? So that has been our talking point this morning. We want to say thank you for all of you who've been watching us. And those of you who are concerned of this issue, we say make a comment. We will also be glad to respond to those comments. Until then, this is 2A Radio, and this has been Inside Liberia, and we've been looking at accountability issues, and George, we are working from the executive mansion. Thank you so much. Have a blessed, wonderful day. Bye for now. Until next time.